Cub Swanson joining us right now at Legacy Fights. And Cub, you're just a student of the game and a fan of this sport, right? Out before getting into the serious nature of your training camp, you're taking in the fights tonight. How's it going?
It's going great. You know, I love here being supporting my teammates and seeing people live their dreams just like me.
You're going to fight Kawajiri from Japan, and you know, he doesn't do really well against pressure fighters. You know, Clay Guida, for instance, and Melendez, Bermudez. All these guys are pressure fighters, same style as you. You come forward and you put the pressure on him. Is that what you're going to do?
Definitely just want to go in there and kind of have fun, mix up my striking. I'd like to even grapple with him, see what he's got for me. But I definitely want an exciting fight. I felt like I didn't pull the trigger enough my last fight, so I'm looking forward to doing it this fight.
Speaking of your last fight and speaking of pressure of a different variety, coming off back-to-back losses against two of the very best in Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar, you went into that fight against Raquin Diaz. Were you questioning your future in the sport? I mean, you faced a virtual who's who. You've had some great success. You've suffered some terrible injuries and of course have tasted defeat like anyone who's in this sport at the highest level. But how much pressure was going into that Raquin Diaz fight, and how happy were you with your overall performance?
It was weird. I didn't have like tons of pressure just because I just knew what I expected of myself, and I knew if I didn't live up to my potential, then maybe I would have walked away. But so that kind of a weird way didn't have pressure. But after the fight and after the win and just knowing that I was capable of performing like that, it was a very emotional win. And, you know, doing interviews and stuff was tough just because all the emotions started pouring out.
It sounded like you had that proverbial 1 foot out the door then going into that fight, or am I overstating that with you saying, hey, if it didn't go your way, you were prepared to walk away from MMA, right?
Well, it's just a matter of performing at your best, and I think every athlete is like that. And with the bad injuries that I had, it had me kind of just wondering what I was doing with it, and if I wasn't going to be performing better than I was, if I was going to start declining with performances, then I didn't want to do it anymore. And I really feel like I've never had my best fight yet, and that's what I want. That's what I want to obtain, is be the best version of me.
Did you change anything in your training? If you look back at your career, you say, because you're a guy who always goes full out. Is there something that you say, okay, I got to tone it down a little bit because, you know, you can get hit in the process as well, of course?
Well, basically, they wanted me to, kind of tone it down with the crazy stuff early on, kind of establish my game and really shut down his. And then what that did is opened up my unorthodox strikes in the second and third rounds, and both second and third rounds were when I was dropping them, and that was because I had showed them very orthodox style in the first round, then I switched it up second and third rounds, and that's what ended up throwing them off and catching them. So that basically won me the fight.
I want to ask you a question, Cub. It's because they asked me yesterday the question how many times I trained in a week, and I wonder, with me it was 10 times, and I wonder nowadays, because that's been a long time ago, did that change? How many times a week do you guys train?
How many times a week? I mean, I train usually 2 to 4 times a day, 6 days a week. Basically what I did is, now that I'm older and a little smarter, they're shortened. You know, I'll get in and I'll do very sport specific, with a warm up and then about a hard 30 to 40 minutes. So it's about an hour session at the most, and then I'm done.
Nice. Last question for me, Cub. You're a dynamic striker. I know you went to high school with a former welterweight boxing champion, Timothy Bradley. I'm just wondering, do you still keep tabs with Timothy? And do you ever spar with him or get any tips from him as it pertains to your MMA career these days?
Oh, definitely. You know, when I go to the boxing gym, I'm just a student of boxing when I go there. You know, I always play their rules. I've had many rounds with Tim Bradley. I've sparred with Victor Ortiz. You know, I've been around with Paragnikov and tons of Mexican boxers. Oscar De La Hoya's nephew, Diego De La Hoya, done rounds with him. So we have so many amazing boxers in there that I just kind of watch. So you know how it is. You got to train with the best of the best and kind of, learn what they're doing. They never want to play my rules.